we have Sean Olsen and his Dread Mob list at the Huza Hobbies Road to Nova. So this was a 40-person event. Let me even pull this up. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of some of these tabs, guys, while you behold the marvel that is on the screen of, yes, this was a Stampa with triple knots making an appearance. So this was a real event before people think this was just some wonky event here. We have multiple Ardabor players showed up here and the org players right here at 5th place. Hey, with U.S. Army Sports. Whoa, let's go. So we have 46 players here. So yeah, let's get. So I get right here. Form 1. Great job by him. Let's talk about his list. I have extensive pleasure in Dread Mob and this sort of list. So let's talk about how it actually plays out and what it actually did and what he actually had to face. So we start off with obviously 3 mechs. So we get three mechs and 6 minimum sized units of Gretchen, followed by 2 Morkanauts, 1 Gorkanaut, and a good old Stampa. That's it. That's the whole list. That's the entire list. No more things to think about other than that. Now, how this is going to go, a lot of the time you are going to embark the Gretchen into multiple of these walkers. You are going to use the other ones to screen your backfield because you cannot allow people to get behind you with this sort of list ever at all. One of those mechs is absolutely always babysitting the Stampa. And then the other ones are, one of them is going to be shared. And that does sound kind of funny, but ultimately the difference between the Mork and the Gork, other than their damage profile of their weapons, is really that 5-up invuln, which means a lot of the time that Mork is going to be sometimes what we like to call the Kickstarter, the Igniter. He might end up being the first one to get out into the middle of the table before you call the wall, because he's going to be riding that 5-up invuln to get full commitment out of the enemy, right? Let's say you're playing, let's pull up, let me see, pull up here. Okay, let me see if I can do this, guys. I should have thought about this beforehand. Let me pull up my screen. Oh, I need to do this the proper way. Don't worry, I got this. But as I set this up, keep in mind, this is absolutely legit when people are using Stampas and it's not just that they're just memeing out, necessarily just having fun, as we've seen it multiple times throughout the entire existence of the Codex where people have great times and perform. Now, as this is a hull spam, when you're able to bring the hull that destroys all the other hulls, now you have great options. Now, let me pull over to the other board that I have up for you, Gits. Let me get up. All right. Oh, I should probably zoom in more here, huh? Long one. Let me zoom in. Oh, that's too close. Oh yeah, that's too close. So let's say you're playing layout 1. Very, very common. Very common. Thinking about the practical aspect of where the heck is the enemy going to hide from you if you were going to draw up into the absolute middle objective. If you were to say safely into this, what we call half box, your home just tagging that, because you can't really fit through here necessarily. So you might be boxing yourself in based off what objective you're playing in. But some people will stage up in this one. It means if a knot decides to start walking down to interact with the enemy's natural expansion, which is typically here, and they're starting to walk down this lane, the enemy can either overcommit to try to get to them, where they're right in the face of the Stampa, or if they start to play this long angle, what they're typically with their firearm, with their weapons, well, then the Stampa has free reign to them. If you're not scared as a Stampa player to actually get into combat and be countercharged out of the middle game staging, then you can simply toe up into this objective and see essentially the entire battlefield, other than this one natural expansion objective will be hidden. And in that case, you have multiple other Titanic Walkers that can run up to them. You have Grots that can actually help screen you and do reactive moves. And even though you're thinking, well, the enemy might just be able to pop me because there's so much anti-vehicle in the game. Yes, once you're riding your invuln and you have the saturation of multiple other T12 and then your one T14 body, able to just simply tag terrain pieces and look over them and shoot everybody that's in their way and throttle between re-rolling hits or big shots for bigger gets, clinking claws so that they can get better sweep attacks, better punches on the enemy. It can just end up stacking and overwhelm the enemy. And if you do get the Stampa, he can play this layout 1, for example, and make it around this battlefield, right? Whenever I've spoken to people who do well with Stampas, or I've done well with Stampas myself, you can fit up into this side of the battlefield and actually start getting into combats if you stage up in the middle and you aren't actually worried about the enemy. So you can actually make your way into the middle of the game and start shooting down this lane to people that are hidden back here. So things really get out of hand. And remember, your Stampa is going to have the ability in Dread Mob to possibly advance and charge, advance, shoot, and charge. So as he's peeking that corner or moving towards the middle, he can get off. And remember, he can still walk over a terrain piece as long as he lands off the terrain. So these walkers are getting mobility, then, they don't get the ability to move through terrain as they should, but they're still playing the field and able to score, shoot, and really get into most of the combats they want on this GW terrain. So let's take a look at his actual path to victory. Another thing to check out is our sponsor, the Baron of Dice. They make high quality custom dice. If you enjoy our content and want to show some love, check out the Baron of Dice custom dice, including Wall Tactics official dice. To support us, use our discount code in the description for 5% off, because nobody likes taxes. And of course, shout out to Forgefire Gaming. They offer competitive terrain sets that I use at home that comes pre-painted with slotted acrylic bases, allowing for easy building removal and measuring and alignment with it itself. Check it out in the description, and check out our paint competition. This month we have the Stampa, so you can get a set of those Wall Tactic dice. We have the missions. I don't have the exact layouts that he played every mission. It just says that he played 1 and 4 on day 1 and such. So that's why I show layout 1, because I'm sure at least in some of these games we're on layout 1. So let's take a look as his path. Can we get a wall for the Stampa? Let's go, chat. Whoa, can we get a wall in the chat for the Stampa again, making an appearance? Because it's real, guys. You might think, well, this is silly, but look at his actual games and realize that sometimes you can stat check the enemy with that cheapness, the speed, the throttling of damage, the Stampa being able to destroy every other hull and multiple of the other hulls in the game, and also getting in fights, having board presence. It's a really real thing. It's a real thing. And I've done it myself, you know. It was just an RTC that I won, but I've done it myself with the Stampa and multiple knots. It's real. And I'm nothing special, you know. So let's take a look at his first matchup. So yeah, thank you, Jank. Yeah, you get a whoa. Let's go for the Stampa. Yeah, you were out there with that Stampa too, and I've seen you. And Wicked Joe, shout out to Wicked Joe with the Death Dreads. So we have Tyranid Subterranean Assault Force coming in first. He said Old Ravner rules. Sorry, no burrowing. None of that jankiness here yet, but it is to come. So we have a Death Leaper, Hive Tyrant, Swarmlord, Trigon, Biovores, Double Maleceptor, double Moloch, Norn Emissary, Double Ravners, Tyranid Warriors of Bioweapons. You can automatically see a problem here for this Tyranid player. What is he going to do to really kill our vehicles in a reliable manner, even said Morkanot when it's go time, right? For example, Norn Emissary, if he does go first and he places himself on that middle objective, a Stampa with re-rolling hits is picking that guy up 100% of the time, especially if you use big shells for bigger gets. Now, keep in mind, if you're looking at the screen right now, the reason I have only 3 of the weapons highlighted in red is because I really want to stress the point whenever you're using your Stomper, considering it, you don't have to shoot all his guns. Simply use his 3 reliable weapons and ignore the other weapons so you don't have to take as many hazardous rolls. So between a Def Cannon, a Super Gatlinger, and a Super Rocket, you can kill 1 Norn Emissary with just a Def Cannon. Then you can pick a Malice, for example, or a Moloch with the Super Rocket, or the Super Gatling itself. If you use big shells for bigger gets and you're going into a unit that has a 3-up save, for example, you can just put nasty volume of damage 3 in that case. Because in that case, they get +1 damage for big shells for bigger gets. So then that Gatling gun becomes viable for killing light armored vehicles or light toughness vehicles. Is actually really fun to do, and also works against enemy infantry. So don't forget that those might be the only viable weapons, but you can choose multiple targets, and you're re-rolling hits, you're getting the sustain off of them, and you're able to reliably kill what would be considered these hulls or these big toughness chassis vehicles. And then at the same time, they're trying to deal with your Morkanauts, your Gorkanauts, and now your Grots that are getting pooped out of those walkers, walking onto objectives and flipping primary. So if they don't kill them, the Grots get out and then just swip the primary. If they do interact with that guy, well, then now they're exposed to multiple other walkers and the Stampa himself picking up all these monsters. Typically something like a Norn or a Swarmlord would consider themselves tough. When the Stampa can simply walk around the field and lay out 1, they're not tough at all. So I love to see that 96-point win there. And another win we got here is Wicked Joe with 10 Wall Tactic gifted memberships. Whoa! So we're gonna be coming out with better content for that. Promise. Here we are, guys. This is the time of the growing wall. You guys are gonna see. We're gonna get those after action reports now. We've been working behind the scenes on vacation. So thank you to guys like you, Wicked Joe. We're gonna make it worth it. Here's a time to shine. And of course, he wanted to double down with the 20 month membership. Whoa! So don't worry, guys. We're getting new content for the members and for the free general community. So I'm really excited to bring that coming forward. Just hold on tight, guys. And then we have another wall from Two Snatcher. Whoa! Let's go. Thank you, J. Hugh. Thank you, J. Hugh. To all you guys that are here, I know you guys have been a hot minute. Really excited for the orcs and what was going on at the channel. We're like, you know, they were like a couple subs away from 6K, I think, right now. The time we was recording. So shout out to that. Now we move on to Sean's next game, which is against the Sisters of Battle. So we have a Kenoness, Imagifier, Junith, Morgan Val, 2 Palatine, 2 Sisters of Battle Squads, 2 Emulators, 2 Castigators, triple Mortifiers, Paragon Warsuits, Pig Brick of Sanctus, and then some Sisters, followed by 1 Caladius Assassin. So I don't have too many reps into Sisters of Battle, but we do understand the process of how Miracle Dice works. And as much as we appreciate our Orc Walkers, there's one thing they really, really don't have good defense is that the Stampa itself and the Gorkanaut don't have proper invulns. They have 6 of invulns, so when they eat Meltus to the face, they can be destroyed. Whenever I run into Dreadmob, the one thing I had an issue with was I ran into a Salamander's list, and he had a ton of Meltaguns, and they were able to just melt through Orc Walkers, and that is in fact a weakness. So even though he's not reliably having high strength weapons, I can kill them all the time, though he does have Morgan Val. Morgan Val's unit can get +1 to hit, I believe, and I mean +1 to wound and reroll hits, reroll wounds against the unit they're fighting if it's a vehicle or monster when he's led by Morgan Val, so they can just straight up out destroy one of our walkers on their own if they needed to. On top of the fact that they still have castigators and immolators that have hunter killer missiles, so things can go downhill and end up killing you. Nonetheless, so they have the tools, and then also a lot of little units, right? Your Grots, though they are good for flipping OC and just being in the way, they don't actually run around and kill other stuff. So even these Sisters of Battle units, you're not going to have like great unit like activations to go hunt down that little trash unit that's scoring. And typically when you're an orc person, pulling apart someone's army by killing the scoring assets when you can't kill the most valuable assets is going to be a difficulty. Now, of course, your Stampa can go off and super kill 1 castigator, maybe even 2, but that's where he just has a lot of little cheap, efficient killing thing. And each time they pop out, they can hurt or really devastate one of your walkers and then finish them off ultimately. So, and I should have said, sorry, for game 1, it was taken hold on Tipping Point. And then for this one, it was actually Purge the Foe, which you would think, they're a bunch of little sister units, maybe you get them. But when you're losing your walkers and your Grots are getting picked up, then you're kind of losing the Purge the Foe here. And this was Crucible Battle, this mission M. Then we move to game. Is that you? Only Odious? Is that you, homie Sean? What's up, Sean? Is that you? What's up? Let me know. Is he right there? A little creep. Then we move on to 3. So 3 is mission J with Lynchpin. So he goes into World Eater. He says, our rhinos don't need hunter killer missiles. Well, in this game, you kind of did. So we have a Demon Prince, a Corn Demon Prince, with the Helm of Brazen Fire. So this is his ability to reduce damage by 1. So in combat, they like to reduce damage by 1 with their strat, and then this as well. So that keeps him up. He says, no, I'm Decker. Oh, you were Decker? Who's Decker? Where is he? Oh, sorry. My guy was distracted. Well, it's all good. Well, shout out to you, homie. Then we go to, then he has Karn, Master of Execution in favor of Corn for those more dice, and then Berserker of Corn Glaive. He has 1 big brick of Zerkers. Oh, no, he has 2 of them. Yeah, 2 of them. Remember, they have little blood surges, so you shoot them, they can get into combat with you. Then we have 1 Rhino. That's right, there's not 2. Followed by 2 2-man units of Spawn. These guys are absolutely annoying. They can get +1 to wound, I think, on the charge, and additional AP, and then they have sustain. So they definitely punch up, and they're pretty annoying. Pretty efficient units, so pretty cool. Followed by 2 8-bound units, basic 8-bounds, followed by 1 exalted 8-bound unit, 2 Forge Fiends, and then a Jackal. And this was mission J, so it's Lynchpin and Search and Destroy. So right in each other's faces. But one thing that World Eaters don't necessarily do is kill big, strong, titanic, high toughness units as reliably as they could before, or they don't have the units to do it as they did before. For example, like the Exalted 8-bound, or they're not going to be having their Primarch on here, so it's Anground's not making his appearance, so they can whiff into your Titanic Walkers. It's happened with me, and then they end up, you end up crushing them with your big crushing punch, and you're like, all right, go sit down now, little 8-pound. And then as for their Forge Fiend, they're getting picked up by your units as well. So it's real when these guys have to run out and punch you, and they don't their shooting assets aren't really that good into you. So all of a sudden, these matchups and these game dynamics are changing real heavily for an orc player compared to if you were to play that right now, where it's a good trade back and forth. They're fast, they're reliable. They have volume of punches. It's like, ooh, they're good at punching elite infantry. It's a different change. It was a real win. Great job by that, because that's a legit World Eaters list. So then we move on to his 4th game. which was World Eaters again. And he just said, I don't own the 3 Forge Fiends. Absolutely, because everybody's running at least 2, if not 3. So again, we have a Demon Prince with the Helm of Brazen Fire, Karn the Betrayer, and then a Lord Juggernaut with Berserker Glaive. 2 big bricks of Zerkers, 1 Rhino, 3 Chaos Spawn again, 2 8-bound units, 1 exalted 8-bound units, 4 Fiends, and then 2 Jackals. It's very funny how, like, as I've been doing this and following it since Index and World Eaters, or, I'm pretty familiar with World Eaters, and we see them all the time. At one time I feel sorry for them, and at the same time it's like humorous how their lists are almost always exactly the same or within like 2 units or 1 unit of each other. And they're like, but bro, that's all I got is my options. And I'm like, yeah, just it's just a very how can you go wrong kind of army and faction, So 82 point win there for the same reasons. And then we go on to his last and certainly not least game, because this was his hardest game right here. Game 4 was Hidden Supplies in Crucible of Battle. So we enjoy the changes on that one. The mission's much more enjoyable now. And then we move on to 6. And mission 5, was against Blood Angels. This was mission B, Supply Drop Tipping Point. And this one also has changed. So we have the Angelic Inheritors, typically a tough, good fun matchup for Orc Warhorde here. Now, of course, you could say, well, Warhorde, I could fight on death and do good until these same matchups. Orcs aren't really pulling the results necessarily for all that to say that that's exactly how it's going. But also, it's not as easy as, hey, I could just fight on death and win my way through all of these. And this is still a very fun way to win your games with just walkers and just going on the opposite spectrum. So I love this here. We have 2 captains with jump packs, Commander Dante, a lieutenant with combi weapon, and then the Sanguinor. We have 2 Ball Predators, 1 Inceptor squad, big old brick with plasma weapons, 1 Incursor squad, 3 Sanguinary Guard, followed by a Scout squad, Storm Speeder Strike Squad, and then 2 Vindicators. So Vindicators can be hit or miss, right? There's been games that I've played where the Vindicators absolutely hammer me with damage on my vehicles, sometimes blow away entire squads because blast, and then sometimes they do absolutely nothing. So you never know exactly what a Vindicator is going to do, but a Stomp is going to blow it away. And that's what we really like to see, right? Because typically that's what they're trying to hold the firing lanes with while they stage up and shoot you. Not happening here. Which means they have to come out, get into fights with, the Sanguinary Guard, have to run up and punch your Morkana, or for example, like we said earlier, try to punch him out, get their +1 to wound, get some chip damage from the Ball Predator. It takes a combined effort, and as you're trying to chew away the early knots and the grots, then you reply by picking up some of those Ball Predators, picking up those Sanguinors, making them lose their assets, and then now you're just left over big toughness. You do have to respect them because they have so much good ability to throttle and still kill you, or even keep playing the mission with some of their leftover assets if you whiff. But nonetheless, great game because it was hidden the supply drop. So really it just came down to the low primary, came down to both of them were not able to score, the ones that were disappearing, and then it came down to the end of the game. So in that case, this list isn't really doing super great on secondaries unless the grots are getting out and doing it. So you can see this being a little bit cagey for a bit, and then hey, we're gun honing it towards the end of the game. But I like to see it. Ultimately, fantastic, great job for, again, keeping it alive. And again and again and again, we get doubted for saying that the Stompa has real play and that you can have a good time with it and actually perform moderately well if you actually use it and have practice with it because you just want to have fun. And people get down. They go, well, I get one shot because I played against a Baneblade. Well, I get it. That happens too. But, if you're going to an event anyways, there's always a chance for bad matchups. And if you're playing the Stomp to a certain degree, there is a certain amount of thematic, just theme, fun, and power potential playing you want to have. And some of those games, it really will happen. Some of those win paths, it really will happen. What I'm interested to see personally, which I hope to test out here in a couple days again, is how does my Stompa, one of these not spam or similar type of lists, do in tonight's, for example. So Sean, if you see this, let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!